Day number 22, I believe. I'm reading Reader Come Home by Marian Wolf, and this is page 90. To be sure, some of the issues here have to do with expected changes in language usage that occurred from one historical epoch to the next, just as Dr. Otola expressed. Holding this thought in mind, in the most unscientific of exercises, I went to my bookshelves and pulled down 3 recent best-selling novels by well-known, respected authors, and 3 early 20th century novels. I had enjoyed each of the books tremendously, and I simply wanted to see what a random examination of grammatical structures in the contemporary works might reveal, if anything. I used a very simplified, that is, non-scientific version of what reading researchers such as my former mentor Jean Chell called readability formulate, which evaluate the age level appropriateness of different texts. I will admit that I assiduously, successfully avoided studying such formulae during my entire graduate program. I randomly scanned pages from each of the books to calculate the average number of words per sentence and the average number of phrases and clause per sentence and paragraph. Despite considerable differences in style and content, the average sentence length across the current best-selling novels appeared to be less than half the average counts from those in the early to mid-20th century work, with dramatically fewer clauses and phrases per sentence. The trend away from density in prose does not need formal readability formulae for us to observe it in daily life. The question is whether we are observing an accelerated realignment between reading style, how we read, and writing style, what we read. And if so, does it matter? My superficial sampling prohibits any facile judgment, either about changes from one epoch's style of writing to another, or about whether the noted changes reflect the characteristics of the dominant medium, or more ominously, the complexity of thoughts embodied in the work. It would be a gross error to suggest that the depth of an author's thoughts is directly correlated to the synthetic density of a work. I have often written that we can all appreciate both Hemingway and George Eliot. Nevertheless, I have begun to question the cognitive loss of not being willing, or perhaps in the future, even able to navigate the demands of the complex concepts in denser prose. I am increasingly worried, therefore, about the relationship between the number of characters with which we choose to read or write and how we think. Never more so than now, never more so than with our young adults, or with those who would lead our governments around the world. Too long, didn't read. The critical relationship between the quality of reading and the quality of thought is influenced heavily by changes in attention and what I have called, more intuitively than scientifically, cognitive patience. Some of the more disconcerting and surprising letters I have received over the last years have come from professors of literature and the social sciences who are flummoxed over their college students' impatience with our older, denser American literature and writing. One chair of the well-known English department wrote that he could no longer teach his once sought after seminar on Henry James, because too few students they wanted to or were able to read James. Among those professors, the most frequent observations are two. The first is that students have become increasingly less patient with the time it takes to understand the synthetically demanding sentence structures in denser text, and increasingly adverse to the effort needed to go deeper into their analysis. Increasingly averse. The sentence is that student writing is deteriorating. The second is that student writing is deteriorating. I have, to be sure, heard this criticism of undergraduates as long as I have been teaching. The question is nevertheless important for every age to confront. In our epoch, we must ask whether current students' diminishing familiarity with conceptually demanding prose and the daily truncating of their writing on social media is affecting their writing in more negative ways than in the past. There are two issues that may also be related to cognitive patience that are at work in student writing. In a project designed to track the use of citation by students, most student citations referred either to the first page of the source they cited or to the last 3 pages. One can only... I should stop here. Okay, this was Minky. Thank you so much. And please correct me if you can. Bye.